What if there was a memory from your childhood, a nightmare, really, that was so bizarre you eventually convinced yourself you must have made it up? Well, this is the story of a terrifying little cartoon, one that aired on what was supposed to be the safest show on television, Sesame Street, and the unbelievable 30-year search to prove it was real.
It was like a ghost in the machine, an animated clip so unsettling that for decades, the people who saw it truly believed they had imagined the whole thing. So in this explainer, we're going to dive into the incredible hunt for this piece of lost media that literally haunted a generation of kids.
So, let's start with a guy named John Armond. It's 1975, he's just 5 years old, and he's watching Sesame Street like any other kid. But then, this short cartoon comes on, and it just burrows itself into his brain, giving him actual nightmares for years.
John's memory of it was super vivid, but also kind of fragmented, you know? He remembered a girl and these friendly-looking animals, a camel, a monkey, a hen, that were forming out of the cracks in her bedroom wall. But the whole vibe was just weird. The music was this strange, off-key jazz, the singing was kind of creepy, and then bam, out of nowhere, the friendly scene is shattered by this horrifying, grimacing monster that just sneers at the girl before crumbling to dust.
As John got older, that memory became his own personal urban legend. He'd ask people about it, and no one knew what he was talking about. He even reached out to people at Sesame Workshop, and they told him they had no record of anything like it. It was like a textbook case of the Mandela effect, this vivid, shared memory of something that apparently never happened. Or did it? For years, the search was just one dead end after another. John bought old Sesame Street tapes, hoping he'd stumble upon it. But nothing. Then, the internet changed everything. He started digging around on old message boards and forums, and that's where he finally found them. Other people who were haunted by the exact same memory. He wasn't crazy. He wasn't alone.
And just look at this timeline, it's pretty wild. The cartoon, which we now know is called Cracks, only aired a handful of times between 1975 and 1980. And then, poof, it just vanished. For almost 30 years, it existed only in the minds of the kids who saw it.
And this is where the story goes from a simple cartoon hunt to something that feels more like a spy thriller. By this point, John's a radio host, and he'd been posting all about his search online using his real name, so he wasn't hard to find. And, well, someone definitely found him. So get this, in 2008, a totally anonymous fax shows up at John's radio station in Iowa. The message was short and honestly kind of chilling. It said they had the cartoon and would send it to him, but on one condition. He had to sign a non-disclosure agreement promising he would never, ever share it online. It felt less like an offer and more like a threat. He signed it and faxed it right back. Then, for 6 months, crickets, nothing. He probably thought it was a prank. But then, one Sunday morning, a day when the mail doesn't even run, he finds a plain manila envelope in his mailbox. No stamp, no return address. Someone had physically driven to his house and put it there. I mean, how weird is that? The mystery was just getting crazier. He opens the envelope, and inside is a DVD labeled Cracks and a single cryptic note. After 30 long years of searching, he finally had it. You can just imagine him rushing inside, putting the disc in the player, and then there it was. That same haunting jazz music, the girl, the animals, and that sneering crack master. It was all real. So now that the footage was finally out there, we can actually break down why this 1-minute cartoon was so deeply terrifying to kids. What was it about this specific animation on a show full of surreal stuff that left such a permanent scar? Well, according to clinical psychologist Dr. Mona Delahouque, it boils down to a really effective formula for creating fear. First, the cartoon builds up this feeling of safety and creativity. It's kind of cute. And then it just violently rips that safety away without any warning. For a little kid's brain, which doesn't really distinguish between a cartoon and reality, that sudden shift from safe to threatening gets hardwired as a real danger. And that's how you get a powerful, lifelong memory of pure terror. You know, context is absolutely everything here. John actually showed the cartoon to his own kids, who grew up totally saturated with media from the internet. And their reaction was basically, what's the big deal? It didn't scare them at all. But see, for a kid in the 1970s, Sesame Street was this completely safe bubble, so the monster was a genuine shock. For a kid today, who's probably seen way scarier stuff online, the Crackmaster just doesn't hit the same way. It really shows how our media environment totally shapes what we find scary.
Now you think, okay, he found the tape, story's over. But nope. The truth is, finding the cartoon just opened up a whole new can of worms. John kept his word, by the way. He never posted the video. And that's when the story gets even weirder.
In 2013, 4 years later, a completely different person, also anonymous, contacts the Lost Media Wiki and sends them a copy of Cracks. But here's the thing. It wasn't the same file. John's was a recording from a TV broadcast. This new one had production notes on it. It came from an archive. This means that two separate people, for their own reasons, decided to secretly leak the same forgotten, terrifying cartoon. Why? So this leaves us with what we know for a fact and what's still just a theory. We know it was called Cracks, and it aired for about 5 years. And we know for sure there were 2 separate leaks. What we don't know is who really animated it, or why it got pulled. The most popular theory is that the name Crackmaster became, well, a little problematic during the crack cocaine epidemic of the 80s. Another idea is that the whole thing was just too weird and confusing, so the producers quietly got rid of it.
And that's where we are now. For over 30 years, Cracks was a ghost, a shared nightmare that people thought they'd dreamed up. Now that it's been found, the story has completely changed. We've seen the monster. The really big question isn't about what the cartoon showed us, but about why someone, or two someones, wanted it to be found so badly that they broke the rules to bring it back. What was the motive for making sure this nightmare was never forgotten?